Welcome back to my channel. You already know it's your boy Hood Diggity, the Rock Reactor, back with another video. Yes, sir. Before I proceed, let me know where you tapping in from. Let me know what country, what city, what mountain, what hill, what cave, what island, what planet, what universe. Let me know where you at. Represent your hood. Yes, sir. We got today's news. Let's talk about it. After Maduro's capture, will Cuba be Trump's next target? Now, the question remains, this is a deep conversation right here. This is like a catch-22, because I always like to look at different, when I give my opinion, I like to look at different angles from different points. Now, at the end of the day, guys, what gain does Trump have going into Cuba? Let's say he wants to liberate the people. He wants to change the regime, Cuba's regime, which I totally agree because the regime has, I mean, Cuba is crazy, man. The people go hungry. I've seen a lot of videos where it's just sad. I seen a video yesterday of this lady, man, that what she bought to eat for the whole month is outrageous. It's like 2 packs of hot dogs and like a spaghetti and some macaronis, and that's all she got paid, and then she some other shit there. But it was like, how the hell could people make it like that? And it's crazy. So it is a tough situation, and I do understand that the regime needs to change. But at the end of the day, no matter what decision is made, the people are going to suffer. Because right now, if there is no oil going into Cuba, Cuba eventually is going to be sent back, and then nobody is allowed to sell them oil or nothing. Mexico was doing it, and then Mexico stopped supposedly due to sovereignty, but it wasn't due to sovereignty. You know, it was because of U.S. pressure. Now, like I said, I understand both sides. They want to change the regime for the people to benefit, supposedly to benefit the people there, so the regime can change and Cuba could prosper. Cuba could become a democratic country. And then again, in the meantime, if there's no oil going there, the people are going to suffer. And then the regime, by the time the regime change, these people are going to go back to like the ice ages, guys. They're going to go back. But can you imagine a country without oil? That means, hey, they're not going to have electricity. No vehicles can function. I mean, it's going to be bad. Like, Cuba's about to, I don't know, but it's going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of stuff, a lot of people stealing that causes a lot of crimes. I mean, it's a sad situation, and I can understand why Trump will make that decision. But then again, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, no matter what decision is made, the people of Cuba is going to be suffering, guys. A lot. They're the ones that go through it because the government, at the end of the day, the people in the government, they just move to another country. They'll probably come over here to the Dominican Republic and just live here, or go to any other island, or go somewhere else because they have money and govern from outside, or they're going to have it good. But the poor people, the actual people, the citizens of Cuba, they're going to have it bad. Let's take a look, guys. I could talk about this all day. It hurts me. It hurts me because Cuba is one of our neighboring countries here in the Caribbean. Guys, and before we check this out, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. Let's talk about it, guys.
So we're just driving into Revolution Square right now, where the memorial for the fallen soldiers is going to be held.
In the U.S. attack on Venezuela to capture Nicolas Maduro, over 100 people were killed. Among them, 32 Cuban soldiers, including Maduro's closest bodyguards, operating there in secret.
Talking to Cubans for the last several days, they are absolutely shocked by what took place in Venezuela.
Now, Cuba's closest ally, and more importantly, its biggest oil supplier, appears to be under de facto American control. And this is sending a chill through Cuban society about what may be next.
We would love to see the regime there change. We would like to, that doesn't mean that we're going to make a change, but we would love to see a change.
Cuba is really a nation that's very close to failing.
It is a prediction many U.S. presidents have made. But the revolution founded by Fidel Castro has endured.
No sabemos qué sucederá, pero estamos dispuestos a morir.
I've been a foreign correspondent in Cuba for 14 years, a country that suddenly feels very different to me.
The government is feeling very threatened now.
And I want to find out what the operation in Caracas.
Something else, guys, is that you have to understand that there's a majority, there's a big population in Cuba that does not want the regime to change in any way. There's a lot of people that are afraid to say it because there's some type of hush, there's some type of like freedom of speech is not like it is in the States or here.
Means for the future of 9 million Cubans who live in this island nation. The Cuban government received the remains of their fallen soldiers from Venezuela with a hero's welcome after decades of denying their presence there. Thousands of people lined the streets that day and waited hours to pay their respects in what was one of the largest media crushes I've seen in the country in years.
They've just looked through all our equipment to make sure that no one's carrying anything they shouldn't, and all the media is going to the Armed Forces Ministry, which is a place where journalists, particularly American journalists like myself, never get to go to. This direct confrontation between the U.S. and Cuban soldiers, that's not something we've seen for decades, and it's left many people here wondering, the loss of their ally in Venezuela, how is that going to impact them?
Outside in the line, I meet Ileana Medrano. What would happen if there was an invasion of Cuba by U.S. troops?
Nosotros enfrentaríamos lo que venga, con mucha fuerza, con mucha decisión, y el que no tenga un arma tirará una piedra, pero hay que batallar. Tanto para allá como para acá. No sabemos qué sucederá, pero estamos dispuestos a morir.
Cubans are no strangers to economic hardship. Since Fidel Castro's 1959 revolution, they have weathered America's embargo and their own government's disastrous economic missteps. After the Soviet Union collapsed, Venezuela emerged as Havana's lifeline. Here's how the agreement worked. Cuba sent thousands of doctors, teachers, sports trainers, as well as military and intelligence officials to Venezuela in return for oil. Enough, analysts say, to meet about 1/3 of Cuba's energy needs, and for the most part, keep the lights on.
Now, with Maduro in jail and out of the picture, it's not clear if Venezuela can or will continue the oil shipments that the Trump administration
They can't. They can't. Trump already stopped it.
has vowed to block.
To make matters worse, Havana's second largest oil supplier, Mexico, has also reportedly suspended oil shipments. To understand how critical the situation is, I called Jorge Peñón, a former oil executive and researcher at the University of Texas at Austin.
We do not see any other oil over the horizon, either from Venezuela, Russia, and or Mexico on its way to Cuba.
That tap of oil from Venezuela being turned off, what does that mean to an economy like Cuba's?
They've been having the electric power problems for the last couple of years. Now it's a different story. I think there's a hurricane coming. It is very, very clear. You shut the valve down and the economy collapses.
Already we are witnessing the impacts. For Cubans trying to fill up who want to pay in pesos, it can take weeks to get a spot in a gas line using an online system. Gerardo tells me he's waited 29 days for his chance to pump the 40 liters assigned to him by the Cuban government.
Esto se va a poner difícil. Me alegro que me haya tocado hoy porque no sé si para la próxima puedo coger.
Cubans seem to go from one crisis to the next. For the most part, people carry on their normal routines. But as night falls, many here will be left in the dark. And so longer and longer apagones, blackouts, are becoming the new normal. In many parts of the island, the power is off more hours a day than it is on.
It's a little surprising to see how much of this neighborhood is without power, a blackout that's going on throughout much of the day, people here tell us. This is a neighborhood, though, that has a reputation for people coming.
People don't know how rough it is to go to sleep without a fan in the heat, guys. I've had to do it. I live in a country where the electricity, uh, from day to day, it doesn't go out. There's not that much power outage, but it does exist, of course. Lucky I have an inverter. I'm grateful that I'm able to have an inverter. So um, I got a power plant. I'm grateful for that. Well, not inverter, not a power plant, but I get it. I make it. I'm a little better off than some people. But I can imagine Cuba like the whole day to go to sleep without a fan and the mosquitoes killing you. Guys, it's not easy.
Coming out and protesting if the power is out for too long a time. Some people tell us they are fed up, but they're too scared to speak to us on camera. Others, like Angel, who sells his coconut sweets on the street, say they are.
See, that's the thing also that they got the hush, that hush mentality. You can't speak against the government because if you speak against the government, you get in trouble, you go to jail, you get beat up, you get killed.
Resigned to a worsening power situation. How do you live without power every day?
Uno se adapta. Es que nosotros los cubanos nos adaptamos a todos los acontecimientos. Pero uno se adapta. ¿Qué vamos a hacer?
Outside of Havana, the power situation is even more dire. The blackouts often go on for the entire day. Dairon and his family live in Artemisa, a rural town. He's a photographer, and like many young people, he's not sure about his future in Cuba. A lot of times people have to cook here using charcoal, even to make coffee. And what I've heard again and again from many of the people who have to do this is it's kind of like living in another century. He's lucky to have a small generator, which he shares with neighbors when he can.
Sí, esa es la más preocupación ahora mismo, ¿sabes? Cuando se va la corriente, uno lo que tiene más preocupación porque se le echa a perder los alimentos que tiene comprado, porque si lo tienes comprado hace un mes, en 2 días o 3 se te puede echar a perder. Entonces tienes que acudir al vecino que tiene planta para que te la guarde, para que no se eche a perder. O si tienes poca, cocinarla y ya.
Can you work when you don't have a connection?
Tengo que esperar a que vuelva, porque se demora por lo menos 4 o 5 horas en llegar la corriente y eso me impide también adelantar parte de mi trabajo de editar los videos, editar las fotos.
Dairon says he wants to stay in Cuba, but if the situation continues to deteriorate, he may be forced to join more than 2 million Cubans who have abandoned the island in the last several years. With many heading to countries throughout Latin America, Spain, and the US before Trump's second term. As we leave, most of his town is in total darkness. The Trump administration vows that pressure will continue on Cuba until the island's leadership makes major concessions, including returning confiscated property to Cuban exiles who fled to the U.S. For now, the Cuban government is defiant.
Okay, so that's what Trump wants. That's what Trump wants. He wants basically that the Cuban exile, they give them back their territory. I mean, there's not much that he could look for because we always knew that Venezuela, we always knew what he wanted. For Maduro to be locked up was talking about he's an narco and he's a drug dealer, he's a drug trafficker. That was all BS. We knew what he wanted, but what does he want in Cuba? Because you have to understand that the people are going to suffer, not the regime, and the regime is going to hold on.
Calling for one of the largest demonstrations outside the U.S. Embassy in Havana in years. The message is clear. Cuba is not going down without a fight.
Cuba no tiene que hacer ninguna concesión política, ni eso jamás estará en una mesa de negociaciones para un entendimiento entre Cuba y Estados Unidos.
He's saying that, but what's going to happen when there's no oil and the people are starving? The people's going to go crazy. Without oil, a country cannot survive. So, and they're not going to let any other country give them oil, sell oil to them. So what he's saying it now, but eventually something's going to happen. I believe that Cuba needs to move away from that Castro mentality, man. We always thought that as soon as Castro dies, that's it. That whole revolution and communism was going to be over, and they still with that shit. I can't understand how the Cuban people can adapt to that shit. I guess they have no choice.
Even some of the younger people in the crowd, like Ivan, say they feel the mood in their country has changed. When you picked up your phone, turned on the TV the morning of the attack, and you saw bombs falling on Caracas, how did that make you personally feel?
In the 21st century, seeing these kind of actions, violating totally the international law, acting unilaterally, that's something very worrying.
And it could happen here, potentially.
It could happen here potentially, but also there were Cuban blood in those attacks in Caracas.
Cubans have endured so much adversity already, but there are limits. The government here says the Trump administration wants to turn this island into a failed state. Critics say it already is one.
Of course.
For those of us who covered the normalization of diplomatic ties between the U.S. and Cuba under the Obama administration, there is a sense of whiplash. I've even heard from a U.S. embassy source that diplomats there have been advised to, quote, have their bags packed as the Trump administration explores new ways to destabilize the communist-run government.
The excitement many Cubans felt at the chance of better relations with their neighbor just 90 miles away is gone. Tensions not only seem revived, but near a breaking point.
Guys, and I gotta say that I love the Cuban people, guys. I was raised around Cubans. My mom was once married to a Cuban. Worked with a lot of Cubans. I lived in Union City, New Jersey, where there was a big Cuban population, and Cubans are wonderful, wonderful people, guys. Wonderful people. I have had some of the best jokes I've heard are from Cubans. Cubans are people that they're fun. I thought about going to Cuba. Hope to meet Cuba one day. Cubans are incredible, amazing people, guys. I have to say that. Like I said, a part of me feels Cuban, because like I said, I was raised around Cubans. So even the way I speak Spanish, sometimes I speak like a Cuban. People would say that to me. So I wish Cuban people the best. It's crazy because they're headed for a bad situation. Right now, they're headed for a bad situation. No matter what happens, unless of course Trump has a change of heart and decides that he's going to go ahead and let Mexico give them oil, let Venezuela continue to supply them with oil. I pray for the Cuban people and I wish them the best. Guys, you already know, man. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the notification bell. Hit the like button. Any donations to my channel will be greatly appreciated. My PayPal account is on the screen. Peace, love, and God bless.